Chapter 229. Qin Shueru quickly noticed Su Yiyen's strange behavior. She frowned and asked with concern, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Su Yiyen seemed to have woken up from a dream. He said anxiously, "Auntie, can you give me your hand?" "Hand?" Qin Shueru was confused, but she did as she was told. Su Yiyen felt her pulse for a while, and the uncertainty in his eyes was gradually replaced by pure excitement. "What's wrong? Yan, why are you grabbing your auntie's hand?" "I'm taking my auntie's pulse." "Taking your pulse?" Cheng Xiuqin frowned. "What's taking your pulse?" "Taking your pulse means checking your body's condition by feeling the pulse on your wrist." Qin Shueru and Cheng Xiuqin were shocked when they heard Su Yiyen's words. In this era, most Chinese herbs were extinct. Naturally, Chinese medicine only existed in scientific literature, and very few people knew about it. Hearing Su Yiyen's explanation, the two of them, who were used to using all kinds of advanced medical equipment, were surprised and curious. Before they could ask more, Mr. Su and Qing Juanhao came down with old Master Cheng. Seeing the three of them together, he asked curiously, "What are you guys doing?" "Yan is taking Shueru's pulse." Cheng Xiuqin asked Su Yiyen subconsciously, "You said that you can know a person's condition by feeling their pulse. What did you find out for your auntie just now?" Su Yiyen chuckled and grinned from ear to ear. "I found a baby." "What baby? You're already so old and you're still—" Cheng Xiuqin's complaint stopped abruptly, and the others were shocked too. Qin Shueru touched her stomach subconsciously, and her face was full of disbelief. "Yan, you mean?" Su Yiyen went forward and held her hand. He said with certainty, "It's what you think. Auntie is pregnant. Uncle, you're going to be a father." At this moment, Qin Shueru's mind was completely blank. A pleasant surprise that came too suddenly would always make one afraid. This was just an illusion born from one's obsession. She grabbed Su Yiyen's hand as if she was grabbing onto a life-saving straw. She was unwilling to let go. "Yan, is it true? I'm pregnant? Am I really pregnant?" Cheng Xiuqin looked at Qin Shueru, who was so excited that she was about to cry on the spot. At the same time, he felt sorry for her, but he still couldn't believe that Su Yiyen could really feel a baby. If she didn't find out in the end, her sister-in-law would be disappointed to death. "Yan, are you sure you're not mistaken? Your auntie—" "There's really no mistake. If you don't believe me, you can go to the hospital for a checkup now. It should be about 3 weeks. We should be able to detect it with the equipment." Yes. Cheng Juanhao finally reacted and rushed to his wife's side. He pushed Su Yiyen away and hugged Qin Shueru's hand. He was so excited that he didn't know what to do. "Let's go to the hospital. I'll take you to the hospital for a checkup now." Su Yiyen. He didn't want his niece anymore after having a baby. Men were indeed pigs. The two of them who were going to be parents were so happy that they were dizzy. Cheng Xiuqin and his wife were both expectant and nervous. Chapter 230. It was a joyous occasion for both families that Qin Shueru was pregnant. No one was willing to wait anxiously at home, so they rushed to the hospital in groups. During this time, young Master Su, who had finally finished his work, returned home to find that there was no warm food, no concerned greetings, and not even a single person at home. He was stunned for a few seconds before he remembered to call his sister. After finding out that Qin Shueru was pregnant, the whole family rushed to send her to the hospital for a checkup. Unwilling to be left behind, he rushed over as well. The detection equipment in the hospital was much more advanced than that of the 21st century where Wen Jingping lived. One only needed to scan the pregnant woman's stomach to show a 3D image of the baby. There was no need to worry about radiation, so it was very convenient. In less than 2 minutes, Qin Shueru walked out in Qing Juanhao's arms. They crowded around her and asked anxiously, "How is it? How is it? Are you really pregnant?" "Yes, I'm pregnant." After saying these words, Qin Shueru seemed to have finally returned to reality from a bizarre dream. She grabbed her husband's hand and confirmed again, "I'm pregnant. I'm really pregnant." "Yes, we have a child. It's our child." After hearing Qing Juanhao's words, Qin Shueru couldn't hold it in anymore. She hugged his shoulders tightly and burst into tears. Cheng Juanhao's eyes were also filled with tears. Although he said that he didn't care, who wouldn't want to have a child with the person they loved? When they grew old together and passed away one after another, there would still be one person left in this world to witness their past love. However, between having a child and having a lover, he still cared more about his lover. Now that he realized that he didn't have to make a choice and had the best of both worlds, how could he not be happy? That's great. Cheng Xiuqin's eyes turned red when she saw the two of them like this. She kept patting her husband's shoulders to express her joy. Mr. Su was speechless. Who exactly did his wife learn to hit people whenever she was happy? Forget it, it was such a joyous occasion. If I get hit, so be it. Grandpa Cheng was also very happy. However, when his daughter-in-law was pregnant, the first person he thought of was his precious granddaughter. From the looks of it, the nourishing soup Yan Yan made for you guys all this time wasn't wasted. Hearing this, Qin Shueru finally woke up from her huge surprise. She threw away her husband's hand, which was tightly holding onto Su Yiyan's. Yes. It's all thanks to Yan Yan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Cheng Juanhao, who was thrown away after being used by his wife. Wasn't this the legendary karma? No one knew the condition of her body better than Qin Shueru. Since 5 years ago, a doctor had tactfully told her that it would be difficult for her to conceive a child with her body condition. In the past few years, as she grew older, this difficulty had been increasing. She did not expect that she would be pregnant in less than a month after arriving at the Su family. Her father-in-law and husband had sent her to the Su family to recuperate in advance. It was the best decision they had made in their lives. We're family, why are you being so courteous? I've always been the youngest in the family, and I've always wanted a younger brother or sister. Now that you're finally pregnant, I should thank you for fulfilling my wish. Chapter 231. After being comforted by the two of them, Qin Shueru finally regained control of her emotions. She reached out to touch her stomach, which was still unnoticeable. Although she didn't have any real feelings for this huge surprise, she knew that there was a little life living inside, a little life that she had always dreamed of. Seeing that he was about to become invisible before the child was born, Cheng Juanhao silently tugged at his wife's sleeve and said aggrievedly, Yan Yan took all the credit, but I also contributed a little. His expression almost said, without me, you wouldn't have been able to give birth to the baby. Even if I didn't contribute, I still worked hard. Don't ignore me like this. Qin Shueru. She did not want her husband anymore. Whoever wanted him could take him away. The others were also a little confused by Cheng Juanhao's actions. After a while, Cheng Xiuqin finally reacted and scolded with a smile, useless. Su Yiyan could not help but gloat. It turned out that it was not only love that would lower one's intelligence, but parents would as well. Qin Shueru was already considered to be in the advanced stages of pregnancy at her age. The others did not dare to let their guard down and gave her a full body checkup so that she could be nursed back to health. Su Yiyan had already nourished Qin Shueru with everything that he could during this period of time. Knowing that there was nothing wrong with her body, he did not stop them and followed them around the hospital. Halfway through the checkup, Su Yiyan's phone suddenly rang. Su Yiyan was surprised when he saw the caller ID. Taking advantage of the fact that everyone's attention was on Qin Shueru, he turned to a small corner and picked up the call. What's wrong? I heard that you and Uncle went to the hospital. Did something happen? Su Yiyan could hear the nervousness in Huo Chenhuan's voice. He smiled and said, Don't be nervous. It's a good thing. My aunt is pregnant. Huo Chenhuan was slightly stunned. He had heard about Su Yiyan's aunt, but he did not expect her to suddenly be pregnant. It's a good thing. Congratulate her on my behalf. Yes. Qin Shueru's matter had undoubtedly reassured her, making her even more certain that she would be able to do what she had always wanted to do. My aunt suddenly became pregnant after so many years because of me. Huo Chenhuan's eyes flashed as she replied softly, Yes, I know. I can help her nurse her body back to health and conceive a child. One day, I can help you stand up again. Huo Chenhuan was stunned. The smile in her eyes slowly spread because of Su Yiyan's words. Finally, she said, "Oh, I'll wait." After a round of inspection, nothing happened. Everyone couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. On the way back, Ching Juanhao even brought a tester home so that they could monitor the baby's condition at any time. Looking at the test report, it's fine, but you're not young anymore. You still have to be more careful. Especially in the first few months, you have to be even more careful. Qin Shueru knew all this and replied softly, "Yes. I've just discussed with Juanhao. You'll stay here for the next few months and let Yan Yan help you recuperate." Qin Shueru almost treated Su Yiyan as her little savior. Naturally, she hoped that she could stay, but Yan Yan will be married in a few days. Even if he's married, won't he return home? The moment Cheng Xiuqin said this, everyone's eyes focused on Su Yiyan. Chapter 232. Ahem, I'll definitely go back home. Even if I don't go back every day, I'll stay in the same city. It'll be more convenient than staying in my hometown. Cheng Xiuqin snorted. Although he wasn't particularly satisfied with this answer, he didn't continue on this topic. Yan Yan is right. Isn't she going to open a medicinal cuisine restaurant soon? When the time comes, I'll ask her to send some home for you to nourish your body. It won't be difficult. Cheng Xiuqin's words reminded Ching Juanhao that before leaving the hospital, Qin Shueru had mentioned to him the effects of the soup that Su Yiyan had made for them in the past month. Cheng Juanhao was extremely skeptical about this, but it was certain that his wife was pregnant. Could it be that his niece's medicinal cuisine was really that effective? My mom is right. Auntie, you should stay at home and wait until the baby is stable. Cheng Juanhao was also worried about Qin Shueru's health. He frowned slightly and advised, "Since sister said so, you should stay for a while longer. I've also invested in Yan Yan's restaurant. Just treat it as helping me recoup some of my capital. Don't let me suffer a loss." Su Yan was both angry and amused when she heard this. "Uncle, so that's what you're planning? Then it's over. If you want Auntie to recoup her capital, I'm afraid she'll have to recoup it for the rest of her life. Then help me raise your auntie for the rest of your life. While you're at it, you can raise your unborn brother and sister as well." Before Su Yiyan could say anything, Cheng Xiuqin had already slapped her. "You wish. You can raise your own child." The car burst into laughter. After returning home, Cheng Xiuqin held Qin Shueru's arm and walked in front. Cheng Juanhao deliberately lagged behind them and walked side by side with Su Yiyan. "Yan Yan, can the food you made for us really increase a person's chances of getting pregnant? Your auntie and my baby?" Su Yiyan knew what he wanted to ask. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, and he deliberately said mysteriously, "If you think so, then so be it. If not, then so be it." The corners of Ching Juanhao's eyes twitched. He seriously suspected that she was still holding a grudge over what he had said just now. "I think so. That's why I want to continue asking. What are the medicinal cuisines in your restaurant for? It's quite broad. Menstrual pain, baldness, insomnia, anorexia, and even aunt's condition can be cured." Cheng Juanhao's eyes lit up. "Really? Believe it or not, it's up to you." Su Yan rolled her eyes, snorted arrogantly, and turned to leave, but was caught by Cheng Juanhao. I do. I'm just a little surprised. When did you learn how to treat patients?" It was still acceptable for him to learn how to cook from a cookbook, but could it be that he had also read the book to cure the disease? Not to mention, he had never even heard of her method of treating people. If you can learn how to cook from books, you can also learn how to treat illnesses. But now that you mention it, I do remember it. Uncle, can you help me get a proper doctor's license? After all, the medicinal cuisine restaurant was different from ordinary restaurants. She had already applied for a catering license. If she really wanted to treat some people in the future, without a doctor's license, she was afraid that she would get into some trouble. Su Yiyan's idea might seem like a groundless worry to others, but not long after, these people would realize that she was preparing for a rainy day. Chapter 233. This was not Wang Rant's first time doing a live broadcast in a physical restaurant. However, there were many rules in high-class restaurants, and most of them were unwilling to let anyone in for a live broadcast. He had been blocked at the door a few times. This time, he wanted to give it a try. As soon as he reached the door, he heard a low voice call out, "Sir." Wang Ran was shocked. He subconsciously tightened his grip on the live broadcast equipment in his hands and looked at the waiter who was walking toward him. You don't allow people to bring live broadcast equipment in?" The waiter was stunned when he heard him say that. He smiled and said, "We don't have such rules, but there are many people in the restaurant. I hope you can take care of your valuables after you enter. Also, try not to disturb other customers." The waiter's decent and polite attitude was somewhat amiable, which made it easy for people to have a good impression of him. Wang Ran and the audience in the live broadcast room were prepared to be blocked at the door and not be allowed to enter. When they heard his words, they could not react for a while. The service in this restaurant is good. It's not like the previous high-class restaurants where the waiter's eyes are almost on top of his head. It's fine if you don't let him in. Why do you look down on him and have such a bad attitude? It's also possible that they just opened not long ago and are relying on this to attract customers. After a long time, they might become like those high-class restaurants. However, this attitude is really good. I hope they can keep it up. Doesn't anyone think that this waiter is quite handsome? Can the blogger help me get his contact information? Is it okay to openly climb the wall in front of the blogger? Although I really want to say that this waiter's looks are really a little too good. I can do it. Elder sister can do it, younger sister can do it too. Me too. In just a short while, Wang Ran had witnessed his good-looking fans climbing the wall in his live broadcast room. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. Okay, I'll be careful. The waiter seemed to be unaware of the rows of comments on the live broadcast room's equipment. He still maintained a decent smile on his face and said, "Okay then, please do a full body scan. After the scan, our store manager will give you a physical report and recommended medicinal cuisine. Please inform the customers in advance that our restaurant does not support self-service. Everything will be based on the results given by the store manager." I know about that. Before coming here, Wang Ran had seen the recording of Su Yiyan's live broadcast and knew about it. But knowing was one thing. When he really met him, he couldn't help but sigh. This boss's personality was really strange. Wasn't he afraid that no one would be willing to come? After cooperating with the waiter for a full body scan, Wang Ran was led to a relatively secluded corner of the store. As soon as he entered the shop, he and the viewers in his live stream channel were attracted by the luxurious decorations in the shop. The interior decoration of the restaurant was based on ancient gardens, courtyards, inns, and pavilions. The two-story storefront was connected by a wooden staircase, engraved with many patterns that they had never seen before. The ceiling was completely hollow and carved with all kinds of rare animals, plants, flowers, and birds. Chapter 234. This was not Wang Ran's first time doing a live broadcast in a physical restaurant. However, there were many rules in high-end restaurants, and most of them were not willing to let anyone in for a live broadcast. He had been blocked at the door a few times, and this time, he wanted to give it a try. Just as he walked to the door, he heard a low voice call out to him, "Sir." Wang Ran was shocked. He subconsciously tightened his grip on the live broadcast equipment in his hands and looked at the waiter who was walking toward him. "You guys don't allow people to bring in live broadcast equipment?" The waiter was stunned when he heard him say that. He smiled and said, "We don't have such rules, but there are many people in the restaurant. I hope you can take care of your valuables after you enter. Also, try not to disturb other customers." The waiter's decent and polite attitude was somewhat amiable, making it easy for people to have a good impression of him. Wang Ran and the audience in the live broadcast room were prepared to be blocked at the door and not be allowed to enter. When they heard his words, they could not react for a while. The service in this restaurant is good, unlike the previous high-end restaurants where the waiter's eyes almost grew on top of his head. If you don't let him in, then so be it. Why do you look down on him and have such a bad attitude? It's also possible that they just opened not long ago and are relying on this to attract customers. After a while, they might become like those high-end restaurants. However, this attitude is really good. I hope they can keep it up. Doesn't anyone think that this waiter is quite handsome? Can the blogger help me get his contact information? Is it okay to openly climb the wall in front of the blogger? Although I really want to say that this waiter's looks are really a little too good. I can do it. Elder sister can do it, younger sister can do it too. Me too. In just a short while, Wang Ran had witnessed his good-looking fans climbing the wall in his live broadcast room. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and he did not know whether to laugh or cry. Okay, I'll be careful. The waiter seemed to be unaware of the rows of comments on the live broadcast equipment. He still maintained a decent smile on his face and said, "Okay then, please do a full body scan. After the scan, our store manager will give you a physical report and recommended medicinal cuisine. Please inform the customers in advance that our restaurant does not support self-service. Everything will be based on the result given by the store manager." I know about that. Before coming here, Wang Ran had seen the recording of Su Yiyan's live broadcast and knew about it. But knowing was one thing. When he really met him, he couldn't help but sigh. This boss's personality was really strange. Wasn't he afraid that no one would be willing to come? After cooperating with the waiter for a full-body scan, Wang Ran was led to a relatively secluded corner of the store. As soon as he entered the shop, he and the viewers in his live stream channel were attracted by the luxurious decorations in the shop. The interior decoration of the restaurant was based on ancient gardens, courtyards, inns, and pavilions. The two-story storefront was connected by a wooden staircase, engraved with many patterns that they had never seen before. The ceiling was completely hollow and carved with all kinds of rare animals, plants, flowers, and birds. Chapter 235. At that time, the restaurant was already full of people. Sitting behind Wang Ran was a pair of grandfather and granddaughter. The grandfather was complaining to his granddaughter that the restaurant didn't allow him to order and sold the food at such an expensive price. His granddaughter should be a viewer of Su Yiyan's live broadcast room. She brought her grandfather here to see if these so-called medicinal cuisines were really good for the human body and if they could help cure her grandfather's rheumatism. "Grandpa, don't be angry. This restaurant is opened by a streamer I like very much. I've tried her dishes on the internet. They are very delicious and have the effect of strengthening the body. Many lucky viewers who were chosen by her in the lucky draw said that it was really effective." The girl saw that her grandfather's expression was still not good. She hurriedly held his hand and said coquettishly, "Let's try it once. If it doesn't taste good, we won't come again. You saw it just now. They could tell that you have old cold leg at the first sight. Maybe it really works?" The old man's expression eased a little. He snorted and said, "You're just a child. You only know how to look at this and that on the internet all day long. You could tell that I have old cold leg at the first sight. The scanner in the hospital can also tell the condition with a scan. It can only give some conservative methods. If it's going to relapse, it will still relapse. This kind of trick can only fool a little girl like you who doesn't know anything." The old man's old cold leg was also quite old. It was the root of the disease when he was young. The older he got, the more uncomfortable he felt. Especially on rainy days, he was so upset that he couldn't sleep. The hospital had a way to alleviate it, but unfortunately, it didn't treat the symptoms. It was fine this time, but it would happen again on rainy days. Okay. Just take it that I was cheated. The food in this restaurant isn't that magical, but the taste is definitely good. Let's just take it that we occasionally come out to improve the food. Don't be angry." The old man also knew that his granddaughter was concerned about his health. He snorted and didn't say anything. After about 20 minutes, the two's food arrived. There was hot ginger glutinous rice porridge, fragrant braised eel, and a pot of gastrodia duck soup. As soon as the dishes were opened, the smell drifted uncontrollably in all directions. Wang Ran, who hadn't been served yet, unconsciously swallowed his saliva. Not to mention the grandfather and granddaughter sitting at the table. "See, Grandpa, I didn't lie to you. It really smells good." The old man was obviously tempted by the smell, but he still kept a straight face and said proudly, "It's so expensive, but you can't order it. If the taste is not good, you're not afraid of people smashing the store. The waiter on the side was not annoyed when he heard that. He smiled faintly and said, "There is still a black chicken wine stewing on the stove. The store manager instructed us to pack it for you before the guests leave. After you go back, drink it according to the instructions for a period of time. It will be effective." The girl's eyes lit up and she quickly said, "Thank you, manager. I will make sure my grandpa drinks well." After the waiter finished his task, he left leisurely. The grandfather and grandson pair also couldn't wait to start eating. Coincidentally, Wang Ran's medicinal cuisine arrived at the same time. Different dishes had different tastes, but they were all equally fragrant. Wang Ran was not pretentious. He picked up a piece of potato with his chopsticks and put it into his mouth. Ah, how fragrant! The same thing happened in every corner of the shop. People who were curious or doubtful at first were all satisfied after eating the real thing. Chapter 236. At that time, the restaurant was already full of people. Sitting behind Wang Ran was a pair of grandfather and granddaughter. The grandfather was complaining to his granddaughter that the restaurant didn't allow him to order and sold the food at such an expensive price. His granddaughter should be a viewer of Su Yiyen's live broadcast room. She brought her grandfather here to see if these so-called medicinal cuisines were really good for the human body and if they could help cure her grandfather's rheumatism. "Grandpa, don't be angry. This restaurant is opened by a streamer I like very much. I've tried her dishes on the internet. They are very delicious and have the effect of strengthening the body. Many lucky viewers who were chosen by her in the lucky draw said that it was really effective." The girl saw that her grandfather's expression was still not good. She hurriedly held his hand and said coquettishly, "Let's try it once. If it doesn't taste good, we won't come again. You saw it just now. They could tell that you have old cold leg at the first sight. Maybe it really works?" The old man's expression became slightly better. He snorted and said, "You're just a child. You only know how to watch this and that on the internet all day long. They could tell that I have old cold leg at the first sight. The scanner in the hospital can also tell the condition with a scan. It can only give some conservative methods. If it's going to relapse, it will still relapse. This kind of trick can only deceive a little girl like you who doesn't know anything." The old man's old cold leg was also quite old. It was a disease left behind when he was young. The older he got, the more uncomfortable he felt. Especially on rainy days, he was so upset that he couldn't sleep. The hospital had a way to alleviate it, but unfortunately, it didn't treat the symptoms. It was fine this time, but it would happen again on rainy days. "Okay. Just take it that I was deceived. The food in this restaurant isn't that magical, but the taste is definitely good. Let's just take it that we occasionally come out to improve the food. Don't be angry." The old man also knew that his granddaughter was concerned about his health. He snorted and didn't say anything. After about 20 minutes, the two's food arrived. There was hot ginger glutinous rice porridge, fragrant braised eel, and a pot of gastrodia duck soup. As soon as they opened the lid, the smell drifted uncontrollably in all directions. Wang Ran, who hadn't been served yet, unconsciously swallowed his saliva. Not to mention the grandfather and granddaughter sitting at the table. "See, Grandpa, I didn't lie to you. It really smells good." The old man was obviously tempted by the smell, but he still kept a straight face and said proudly, "It's so expensive, but you can't order it. If the taste is not good, you're not afraid of people smashing the store." The waiter on the side was not annoyed when he heard that. He smiled faintly and said, "There is still a black chicken wine stewing on the stove. The store manager instructed us to pack it for you before the guests leave. After you go back, drink it according to the instructions for a period of time. It will be effective." The girl's eyes lit up and she quickly said, "Thank you, manager. I will make sure my grandpa drinks well." The waiter left leisurely after completing his task. Grandfather and grandson couldn't wait to start eating. Coincidentally, Wang Ran's medicinal cuisine arrived at the same time. Different dishes had different tastes, but they were all equally fragrant. Wang Ran was not pretentious. He picked up a piece of potato with his chopsticks and put it into his mouth. Ah, how fragrant! The same thing happened in every corner of the shop. People who were curious or doubtful at first were all satisfied after eating the real thing. Chapter 237. Yen Yen, let me introduce you. This is Uncle Fan and Auntie Jiao that I mentioned to you before. Cheng Juanhao led them into the house and introduced Su Yiyen to them. Old Fan, sister-in-law, this is my niece. Cheng Juanhao had told them that his niece was young, but when they saw Su Yiyen, they still felt that the person in front of them was different from what they had imagined. Su Yiyen knew what they were thinking when she saw their eyes, but she didn't care. She smiled and said, "Hello, Uncle and Auntie. You're my uncle's friends. If you don't mind, you can call me Yen Yen." But Su Yiyen took the initiative to speak, and it made the two of them relax a little. They deliberated and said, "I heard from your uncle that Xueru was able to get pregnant thanks to you. We're here today to ask if the two of us can also." "I know. Uncle mentioned it to me before. There are many reasons why people can't get pregnant. I can't be sure if it can be cured before I see the person." "Then now, sit down first." Su Yin gestured for them to sit down, then said to Fan Weiming, "Uncle Fan, let me take your hand." "Hand?" Cheng Juanhao reacted quickly and hurriedly said, "Give her your hand." Previously, Yen Yen had pinched Xueru's pulse and knew that she was pregnant. Fan Weiming and his wife were stunned. They looked at each other and reached out their hands subconsciously. Su Yen felt his pulse and thought for about 20 seconds. She turned to Gu Jimei and said, "Auntie, come here." Gu Jimei hurriedly reached out her hand and looked at Su Yen for a while. She couldn't help but ask, "How is it?" Su Yen took back her hand and smiled. "Your situation is different from uncle and aunties. They're mainly my auntie's problem. As for the two of you, it's mainly the man's problem." Fan Weiming was taken aback. He wasn't surprised by Su Yiyen's conclusion. He was surprised that she was able to identify their problem just by feeling their pulse. Was it a coincidence, or did someone tell her in advance? Cheng Juanhao could tell what Fan Weiming was thinking at a glance. His face darkened and he was a little unhappy. He had brought them here to see his niece out of kindness, but these two actually suspected that he had ulterior motives. It was really a case of a dog biting Lu Dongbin, not recognizing the kindness of others. Su Yiyen, on the other hand, did not feel anything. She was a newbie who had just stepped into the door of traditional Chinese medicine. It was normal for patients to have doubts. What exactly is the problem? As for you, Uncle Fan, you have hypospermia and no spermatozoa. It's just that you have less sperm and lower sperm activity. It just so happens that Aunt Gu has a cold constitution, so it's not easy for her to get pregnant. It would be a miracle if two people who had problems conceiving a child were to bump into each other and actually give birth to a child. Fan Weiming and his wife's expressions changed slightly. Su Yiyen could see that the man's problem was more serious. They could say that it was Cheng Juanhao who told them. After all, the reason why they got together was because they couldn't have children. When they chatted before, they would occasionally talk about each other's conditions and reveal some things. However, they had never talked about their specific conditions. They had only vaguely mentioned it once. It was mainly the man's problem. Chapter 238. It can be cured, but the process is more troublesome and may take a long time. In addition, you are older, so I can't guarantee the final result. When Fan Weiming heard Su Yiyen say that it could be cured, he became more excited. "It doesn't matter. As long as it can be cured, no matter how troublesome it is, we are willing to cooperate. As long as it works, even if it is only 1 in 10,000, we want to try." Gu Jimei also echoed, "Yes, as long as there is hope, we will absolutely cooperate unconditionally." These people gathered together because they were in the same boat. Secondly, their family backgrounds were similar, and their temperament and character were relatively good. They had deep feelings for each other. Even if they did not have children, they were not willing to separate and have a child with another man or woman. But it was precisely because of their deep feelings that they wanted to have a bloodline that belonged to each other. For so many years, watching their relatives, friends, and even their juniors have lovely children one after another, the two of them were envious and sad. They thought that it might be like this for the rest of their lives. Who would have thought that there would be a sudden turn for the better? How could they not be excited? Well, since you all said so, then I will treat you with ease. Aunt Gu's side is relatively simple. The main problem is that her womb is cold. She needs to eat more medicated diet to nourish her body. Otherwise, even if she is pregnant in the future, it is easy to have a miscarriage or a miscarriage. Gu Jime's face turned pale when she heard this, and she subconsciously held her husband's hand. Her husband held her hand back and patted the back of her hand to comfort her. As for Uncle Fan, medicated diet alone is not enough. It has to be combined with acupuncture. Acupuncture? Su Yen smiled slightly and calmly took out the acupuncture bag that he carried with him. When they saw it, their faces changed on the spot. Gu Jime's face was even paler, and she asked with difficulty, such a long needle, is it going to be inserted into old Fan's body? It is going to be inserted into his body, but don't be nervous. This needle is inserted into the human body's acupuncture points. My hands are steady, so it won't cause harm to Uncle Fan's body. Su Yen did not dare to say this half a month ago. Recently he had inserted more needles into Ning Chirue's body, so he felt that his hands were much steadier and more confident. Young Master Ning, who had been pricked several times in just half a month. Can you not speak so righteously about using me as a test subject? But Gu Jime was still worried. She wanted to say something, but her husband stopped her. Since Yen Yen said so, he must be confident. Let's give it a try and trust her. Gu Jime opened her mouth but didn't say anything in the end. By the time the two of them finished discussing, Su Yen was almost done with her preparations. As the saying goes, unfamiliar the first time, familiar the second time. Today's Su Yen was no longer the novice from half a month ago who could stab a needle until it bled. His actions were steady and fast. In the blink of an eye, needles were inserted into the Mingmen, Shinyu, Shinkei, Senyunjio, and other acupoints. The two onlookers watched with pale faces. Gu Jime, in particular, wanted to say something several times, but she was afraid that her words would disturb Su Yen and hurt her husband instead. The complicated acupuncture and moxibustion treatment took about an hour, but in the eyes of the people in the room, it felt like a few years. Chapter 239. Okay, you'll be able to get up after a while. As soon as Su Yen said this, Gu Jime immediately rushed to her husband and asked anxiously and worriedly, "How are you? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Fan Weiming's expression was a little subtle. "I don't feel uncomfortable, but I feel a little hot." It's normal to feel hot. By the way, based on your current situation, it will take at least half a year. Drink less during this time. It's best if you don't drink at all. Fan Weiming was slightly startled and hurriedly said, "I haven't drunk in a long time." Although the culinary skills of the people in this era had regressed a lot, the wine culture was unexpectedly passed down. It was still a great weapon when socializing. Fan Weiming loved wine when he was young. In addition, he started from scratch at that time, so he had to drink with his clients at work. When he was older and wanted to have a child, he was told that he suffered from sperm deficiency, which was what Su Yen just said. It was not easy to have a child. And a certain factor in this disease was drinking too much. Fan Weiming regretted it and hadn't touched wine since then until now. Keep it up. In addition, cough cough, you two can't have sex for half a year. Even if you really can't help it, remember to wear condoms. As soon as Su Yen said this, both of them blushed. It's only half a year. We're not that impatient. Su Yen smiled. Logically speaking, you two are husband and wife. It's natural for you to do this kind of thing. But as half a doctor, I have the obligation to tell you these taboos. As soon as Su Yen said this, the two of them blushed again. Cheng Juanhao was also a little surprised. He looked at his niece who was smiling innocently and realized for the first time that his well-behaved little girl had such a little devil side. After Su Yayan finished instructing the two of them, she was just about to put away the things on the table when she looked up and saw Gu Jime's slightly pale face. She then looked at her hand that was subconsciously covering her stomach. Su Yayan's eyes flashed and she took the initiative to ask, Aunt Gu, is your stomach hurting? Gu Jimei was stunned. She didn't expect Su Yiyen to notice her. After a moment of silence, he said embarrassedly, It's an old problem. It hurts for a few days every month. It's okay. Su Yiyen's eyes flashed with a hint of understanding. Women with cold wombs would indeed have more severe menstrual cramps than ordinary women. Fan Weiming tightened his grip on his wife's hand, his eyes full of heartache. He knew that his wife would feel unwell for a few days every month. Before he came this time, he was a little hesitant. He wanted to wait for her to feel better before coming. However, Gu Jimei couldn't wait any longer and insisted on coming over to take a look. Is sister-in-law having menstrual cramps? Cheng Juanhao frowned as he overheard their conversation. I remember that Yan Yan's restaurant has medicinal cuisine for this. After Fan Weiming and his wife heard his reminder, they suddenly raised their heads to look at Su Yiyen, their eyes filled with anticipation. We do, but there are too many people in front of us right now, so I'm afraid we can't make it for you right away. Even if we can make it now, it will take at least an hour. The light in Gu Jimei's eyes gradually dimmed because of Su Yiyen's words. Unexpectedly, she heard Su Yiyen say, But it's not like there's no other way. If Aunt Gu doesn't mind, I can give you a needle. I promise that it'll take effect immediately. Su Yiyen blinked innocently and shook the long needle in front of her. Chapter 240. Gu Jimei looked at the needle and refused in her heart. However, her stomach was so uncomfortable that she finally chose to compromise. Really, it doesn't hurt? Gu Jimei held her husband's hand tightly and looked nervous. It doesn't hurt. It really doesn't hurt. If you're afraid, just lean on my shoulder. I'll block it for you. You won't be afraid if you don't look. Fan Weiming said as he reached out to hold his wife's head and pressed her on his shoulder to prevent her from looking down. Su Yiyen looked at them as if they were facing a great enemy. Her heart did not waver, and she even wanted to laugh. To effectively suppress menstrual pain, the Senyinjiao acupoint needed to be taken. This acupoint was 3 inches above the tip of the inner ankle and was located at the back of the tibia. Most people needed to use 4 fingers to measure the acupoint, but Su Yiyen could see it at a glance. The moment Gu Jimei turned her head, she inserted the needle. After the needle was inserted, the strong stimulation twisted for a few seconds, and Gu Jimei's tense nerves slowly relaxed. How is it? Do you still feel uncomfortable? Gu Jimei subconsciously touched her abdomen. It doesn't hurt as much. Su Yiyen inserted the needle twice more. A few minutes later, when the needle was removed, Gu Jimei's face was not as pale as before. It really doesn't hurt? It really doesn't hurt. Gu Jimei looked at Su Yiyen with eager eyes again. Su Yiyen had pricked 2 people before, one was Ning Chirue and the other was Fan Weiming. Both of them were the type of people who needed to lengthen the trench and prick for a few sessions to see the effect. Without accurate instrument detection, no changes could be seen in a short time. Gu Jimei's ability to cause an immediate effect with just 1 injection was a little tricky, but it was enough to surprise those who were originally skeptical of her. Looking at someone's eager eyes, Su Yiyen touched her nose and smiled faintly. It's only temporary. You still have to take the medicated diet. I'll give the prescription to the kitchen later. You have to take both of them for a few days to see the effect. Later, I'll adjust the prescription and dose appropriately with acupuncture. I have a lot of things to do here, so you have to pay attention and eat on time. Okay. We'll definitely follow your instructions and cooperate with you wholeheartedly. The way Gu Jimei looked at Su Yiyen had completely changed. She had a premonition that the person in front of her might really be the turning point for her and her husband. After sending the 2 of them off, Su Yiyen heaved a sigh of relief. He pulled up the surveillance camera in the store and took a look. After Cheng Juanhao brought the 2 out to order, he turned back and looked at Su Yiyen with sparkling eyes. Seeing him return, Su Yiyen was surprised. Jiujiu, why are you back? Don't we need to call Uncle Fan and the others? There's no need for that. They're too busy reporting the treatment results to the other patients in our group. They don't have time for me. Su Yiyen was speechless. Feedback on the treatment results? She felt that there would be more and more people who wanted children coming to her in the future. Was she forced to walk the path of giving away children? Cheng Juanhao paused and said hesitantly, Yen Yen, does it really not hurt when you put the needle in? Su Yiyan looked at him suspiciously. Why are you asking this? I just want to ask. My stomach hasn't been feeling well recently. Can this relieve it? Su Yiyan was speechless. Seeing that she didn't speak, Cheng Juanhao asked tentatively, Can't I? Then, I'll do it for you right away. Chapter 241. On the first day of the new store's opening, there were many people who came to try out the fresh food, poison testing. There were even more people who came to look for the streamer with the intention of eating. Lan Jiaye was one of them. As the first lucky viewer of Su Yiyan's livestream, he had no doubts about the medicinal cuisine in the restaurant. This time, he came over excitedly. Eating was just a convenience. He wanted to take this opportunity to meet the streamer. However, he was destined to be disappointed. Lan Jiaye didn't hurry to sit down after entering. Instead, he wandered around, trying to find the store manager. The staff in the store had been paying attention to this strange customer who had asked them where the store manager was as soon as he entered the store. Seeing that he didn't sit properly after entering the store and was wandering around, they had already thought that he was here to cause trouble. When he wandered around for the third time, he finally couldn't help but ask, Sir, are you looking for something? Do you need help? Lan Jiaye wasn't stupid. How could he not see that these employees were guarding against him? He touched his nose guiltily and said awkwardly, No. Nothing. I'm just walking around. Because the store is a little busy right now, there are a lot of people. In order to not affect your dining experience, I hope you can find a place to sit down as soon as possible. Our employees will serve you as soon as possible. Although the employee said this politely, he was implicitly reminding Lan Jiaye to find a place to sit down. If he continued to wander around, they might have to take some measures. Although Lan Jiaye wanted to find someone, he didn't want to have a conflict with the employees in the store. Thinking of the streamer's swift and decisive action of checking your IP address and banning your entire family, Lan Jiaye didn't dare to wander around anymore. He quickly found a place to sit down and was as quiet as a chicken. At this time, the store was already full. The desperate bald and auntie parties took up almost half of the seats in the store. Lan Jiaye searched for a long time before he finally found an empty seat in a small corner near the second floor. Miss, you see that there are no other seats in the store. Is it convenient for you to set up a table together? Lan Jiaye felt a little embarrassed after saying this. Why did it sound like he was chatting up a girl? Su Yiyan was bored of being alone in the house, so she came out to take a breather and drink tea. She didn't expect someone to run over to talk to her. She raised her head and looked at Lan Jiaye in confusion. The waiter who came with Lan Jiaye was shocked. Sir, do you have a seat? Su Yiyan gave the waiter a look and did not reject Lan Jiaye's suggestion to set up a table. The waiter reacted quickly. He coughed lightly and said, Sir, this is the medicinal cuisine that the manager has ordered for you. Please confirm. Lan Jiaye had almost blind trust in this shop. He confirmed the order without hesitation and paid for it. After sending the waiter away, he started a conversation with Su Yiyan as if they were close friends. Miss, are you also a viewer of the streamer's live streaming room? Su Yiyan raised an eyebrow. Audience? Aren't you? Su Yiyan shook her head. She was not a spectator, but a streamer. Lan Jiaye looked disappointed. Then why are you here? This shop is newly opened. The decorations are beautiful and the menu is special, so I came in to take a look. But can't I eat here if I'm not a viewer of your live streaming room? Chapter 242. Su Yiyan lowered her head and sipped her rose tea. She asked casually, Why do you think so? Are there a lot of people in your live stream room? Yes, of course. You don't know how amazing the streamer, who is also the manager of this shop, is. She is the kindest and most gentle person in the world. She selflessly donated the seeds to the research institute so that they can grow them in large quantities to serve the public. She also often holds lucky draws in her livestream room and gives away her medicinal cuisine to the lucky viewers. She even opened this shop because she considered the difficult illnesses of the viewers in her livestream room. Lan Jie almost immediately became a fanboy at the mention of the streamer he admired the most. He immediately praised Su Yiyan for a few minutes. Su Yiyan's expression changed from curiosity to embarrassment. She knew that she wasn't as great as Lan Jie made her out to be. Her original intention of starting a live stream was to increase her favorability and to use her skill points to treat Huo Chenhuan's leg. Later, she chose to give the seeds to the research institute for 2 reasons. First, she wanted to seek protection for herself and her family. Second, she felt that it was cute and warm for the viewers to work hard to protect someone they had never met. Later, when she decided to open this shop, it might have been because she and Huo Chenhuan had suffered a lot of malice from this world in her previous life. In this life, when she felt the kindness of others, her heart would unconsciously soften and she would want to do something for them and for herself. Even so, whether it was the seeds or the shop, she was paid for it. She didn't feel that what she did was worthy of gratitude. Lan Jie lowered his head to look at the menu on the table. He smiled and said, "I've looked through it carefully. Although the price of the medicinal cuisine here is slightly higher than that of a high-class restaurant, this amount of money is negligible compared to the value of the medicinal cuisine itself." The streamer could have sold it directly to those rich people who are troubled by illness or auctioned it at a high price online. But she didn't do that. She's really a very, very good person. Lan Jie was like a true fan who chased after a celebrity. He tried his best to tell everyone he met that his idol was the best in the world. Little did he know that the person sitting in front of him now was his idol. Su Yiyan coughed awkwardly and tried to change the topic. "So, you came here today to have a meal or to look for someone?" "I'm looking for someone and eating while I'm at it. But I've been looking for a long time and I still can't find the streamer. This doesn't make sense." Su Yiyan looked at his sorrowful expression, as if he had missed out on the whole world, and said meaningfully, "How can you be so sure that she will be in the shop today?" Today is the first day of the new store's opening. As the store manager, the streamer will definitely show up. Furthermore, and what? Don't you see the flowers in front of the shop and on the street? Su Yiyan was slightly startled. She did not understand how this had anything to do with those flowers outside. What happened to those flowers? Lan Jie looked around. After making sure that no one was paying attention to them, he sneaked up to Su Yiyan and said, "When I came in, I asked the waiter. I heard that the flowers outside were sent by the host's fiancé." Su Yiyan blushed when she heard that. "So what?" "This means that the streamer has a very good relationship with her fiancé. It's very sweet. So she will definitely come today." Chapter 243. Su Yiyan was stunned by Lan Jie's twisted brain circuit and his illogical yet righteous intuition. After a while, she laughed and said, "You're in such a hurry to find her. Do you have something to say to her?" "Not really. I just want to thank her in person." "Thank her?" Su Yiyan frowned. "Thank her for what?" "Thank her for giving me the medicinal cuisine and a lot of hawthorn. With these things, my grandmother's appetite improved a lot. Our family is very grateful to her." "Hawthorn?" Su Yiyan was stunned for a moment, but she quickly remembered who the person in front of her was. She had only given her hawthorn to one person, and that was the person who had asked her for the medicinal cuisine during her first live stream. After that, he had asked for hawthorn from her. "So what if I don't like you?" Looking at his ID, she had thought that he was a particularly unconventional teenager. She didn't expect him to be so good-looking in person. He was just a little too familiar. Lan Jie saw that Su Yiyan was only halfway through her sentence and blinked curiously. "What is it?" "Nothing." Lan Jie didn't suspect anything and sighed. "I'm also curious about what she looks like. I want to meet her." Su Yiyan sipped her tea and said calmly, "You don't know what she looks like. The host hasn't shown her face during her live stream. Have you ever thought that she doesn't show her face because she doesn't want to be disturbed? She doesn't want people to know what she looks like." Lan Jie's expression stiffened, as if he had just thought of this possibility. Su Yiyan drank her tea while watching him scratch his ears and cheeks in confusion. Her eyes were full of smiles. At this moment, Su Yiyan suddenly saw a familiar figure from the corner of her eye and stood up. Lan Jie was shocked by her action and looked up at her in confusion. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Take a seat. I'll leave the meeting first." She didn't wait for Lan Jie to react and quickly got up to leave. "Why are you here?" Su Yiyan looked at Huo Chenhuan, who suddenly appeared at the entrance of the restaurant. She was pleasantly surprised. Huo Chenhuan did not answer. Instead, she asked, "Am I not welcome?" "Of course not." Su Yiyan looked at Huo Chenhuan with some heartache. "You don't like to go out, especially to such a lively place." That was in the past. Huo Chenhuan took the initiative to hold Su Yiyan's hand. "I didn't like to go out in the past because there was no one to accompany me. I don't like to go to crowded places because I don't like the way people look at me. I feel like I don't fit in with the crowd." Huo Chenhuan paused for a moment, a rare smile appearing on her usually serious face. "But now I have you. You will accompany me." It made me feel like I could also be a part of the fun. Su Yian's heart trembled slightly. She subconsciously held Huo Chenhuan's hand and smiled. "Yes, I will be with you. I will always be with you. Yes. Let's go in. I'll take you to the private room." "Okay." Su Yiyan took Huo Chenhuan to a private room in the restaurant. There were many people in the restaurant at this time, and most of them had already eaten. They didn't care about anything else, so no one noticed what they were doing. A waiter who was relatively free saw another guest enter the restaurant. Moreover, the guest was personally brought in by his boss. It was most likely an important guest. He wanted to go in and help, but Su Yiyan stopped him. Chapter 244. The waiter was slightly startled and left with doubts. "You were kicked out?" The foreman who was in charge of the outside saw her return and asked with a faint smile. "From your tone, you don't seem surprised. Who was that man just now? Why did the little boss have to serve him personally?" The foreman smiled and pointed to the flowers outside. "Did you see those flowers?" "Yes, they were delivered early in the morning. There are so many flowers on the whole street. How could I not see them? Do you know who sent them?" "Didn't the person say that he was the little boss's fiancé?" After the little girl finished speaking, she suddenly seemed to think of something and widened her eyes. "You mean that man is—" The foreman didn't say anything and only gave her a look that said, "Figure it out yourself." On the other side, Huo Chenhuan saw Su Yiyan drive the waiter away. His eyes flashed and he asked knowingly, "You drove the waiter away. Who's going to serve us?" Su Yiyan couldn't help laughing. "Are you satisfied with me, the store manager, serving you personally? What if I'm not satisfied? How dare he not be satisfied with the store manager's service? Had he been indulged too much recently and wanted to go to heaven?" Su Yiyan pretended to be unhappy and snorted. "If you're not satisfied, ask the waiter to come back." Su Yiyan stared at the person in front of him with a look that said, "If you dare to say yes, I'll go out and find the waiter right now." Huo Chenhuan accurately avoided this question. "The customer has been sitting here for a while, but no one has come to ask what he wants. It seems that the service attitude of your store is not very good. Is there anything I can help you with? What do you recommend?" Our store is an authentic medicinal cuisine restaurant. The medicinal cuisine in our store has a significant effect on difficult and complicated diseases such as baldness, kidney deficiency, and infertility. Considering your personal situation, I recommend our store's Set A for you. First, eat a course of treatment, then change to Set B, another course of treatment, then change to Set C. Huo Chenhuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Was this girl planning to take advantage of him and make him order all the set meals in their restaurant? After eating these set meals, I guarantee that no matter what illness you have, it will be cured. If you have an illness, it will be cured. If you don't have an illness, it will strengthen your body. There are only benefits and no harm. It's definitely not a loss." After Su Yiyan finished his nonsense, he took a deep breath and smiled at Huo Chenhuan. "What do you think, dear guest?" From what you said, it seems like you want to develop me into a long-term customer of your shop. I bought so many things from your store. Are there any discounts or benefits? Benefits? Su Yien's eyes turned slightly. Of course. What benefits? If the customer spends more than 10,000 yuan in the store manager will be rewarded with a kiss on the cheek. If the customer spends more than 100,000 yuan, the store manager will be rewarded with a kiss on the forehead. If the customer spends more than 1 million yuan, the store manager will be rewarded with a kiss on the lips, and so on. If the customer spends more than 10,000 yuan, the store manager will be rewarded with an IP. It will be effective forever, but no returns or exchanges are accepted. Please be careful when placing your order. Huo Chenhuan never thought that there would be such a benefit. He immediately narrowed his eyes dangerously and said with a chuckle, "Is this a benefit for all customers who spend more than 10,000 yuan?" Chapter 245. Huo Chenhuan looked at Su Yien's innocent face and tried hard to promote himself. His eyes darkened slightly, and a fire suddenly rose in his heart, almost igniting his whole body. It sounds good, but such a big business can't be invested just because you want to. Empty promises are useless. You have to give me something practical to make me sure that this is not a losing business. Something practical? Su Yien raised her eyebrows slightly, leaned over with a faint smile, and kissed him on the cheek. Are you talking about this? Huo Chenhuan had already prepared himself before she leaned over. He narrowed his eyes and kissed Su Yien's lips before she left. Oh! Su Yien's eyes narrowed slightly, and a flash of surprise flashed across her eyes. After a short pause, she suddenly struggled. No, it's too much. Huo Chenhuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He really didn't know whether to say that she was too immersed in the role or that she was deliberately disappointing him. It doesn't matter. I'll make it up in a while. I'll make it up to your VVV. IP customers. Su Yien wasn't so easily fooled. She simply sat on Huo Chenhuan and said angrily, "Words are no proof. Our shop doesn't accept the service of getting on the bus first and then buying tickets later. We also don't accept credit. Please pay the membership fee as soon as possible or else. Or else what?" Su Yien hugged Huo Chenhuan's neck and threatened him. "I'll remove you from the list of VVV. IP customers." Huo Chenhuan looked at Su Yien with a dangerous gaze. "If you remove me, who else do you want to accept as your VVV? IP customers?" Su Yien didn't panic. She lowered her head and touched Huo Chenhuan's forehead. She looked at him and said, "Leave it empty. It's better to have nothing than to have something substandard." Huo Chenhuan's expression became better. Just as he was about to say something, the door of the private room was suddenly opened. "Yen, I heard from the receptionist that someone..." With a bang, the door of the private room slammed into the wall and bounced back a little, revealing the two people who were tightly hugging each other inside the private room. Cheng Juanhao stopped abruptly. A few seconds later, he screamed like a groundhog, "What are you doing?" The two of them, who were originally passionate about role-playing and never tired of it, were instantly awakened. Su Yien jumped down from Huo Chenhuan's body and said awkwardly, "Uncle, it's not what you think." "If it's not what I think, then what is it? How do you know what I'm thinking? How do you know that what you said is what I think it is? Wait, what were you guys doing just now?" Cheng Juanhao was so flustered that he covered his face with his hands. It was as if his carefully raised cabbage had crawled into the pigsty by itself, and he, the vegetable farmer, had no choice but to accept the blow with tears in his eyes. Su Yien. "Oh no, another one has gone crazy." Uncle, calm down first. It's really not what you think it is. It's just that my hair accidentally got caught on the button on his shirt, and he helped me take it off. As Su Yien spoke, she subtly tugged at Huo Chenhuan, asking him to chime in. Huo Chenhuan. She wanted to say something, but stopped. Cheng Juanhao had a suspicious look on his face. Really? More real than a pearl. Cheng Juanhao's expression eased a little, but then he suddenly seemed to realize something. He screamed again, "You're lying. There are no buttons on his shirt today." Su Yien. Chapter 246. Hua Chenhuan's clothes were indeed buttonless today. Considering that he had to match it with the scarf that Su Yiyan had given him, Hua Chenhuan did not wear his usual suit today. Instead, he wore a casual pullover. Because of this, he had wanted to say something but stopped himself. He did not know how to cover up his silly wife's lie that was destined to fail. Cheng Juanhao had already been provoked by the scene when he barged in. Now that he learned that Su Yiyan had lied to him, he said bitterly, "Yan, you actually lied to your uncle. Just to cover up your relationship with this guy, you even lied to your uncle. You weren't like this before." Cheng Juanhao glanced at Hua Chenhuan as he said this. His eyes seemed to say, "It's all your fault. You've led our family's honest, cute, innocent, and kind child astray." Hua Chenhuan, who was staring at the big black pot flying at her, was speechless. "Uncle, you're exaggerating. Chenhuan and I are a couple. We haven't seen each other for so long. Now that we finally see each other, isn't it normal for us to be intimate in the house? But uncle, how could you barge in without saying anything? You scared us." Cheng Juanhao, who felt that he had been blamed, could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. His face darkened as he said, "Even if you two are a couple, you're not officially married yet. You can't be too intimate." Su Yiyan blushed slightly and giggled. "We'll be married in 2 days. 2 more days won't make a difference." Hua Chenhuan's lips curled up slightly. She was obviously looking forward to the wedding that was soon to come. Cheng Juanhao was speechless. Not only did the cabbage that he raised jump into the pigsty, but it also eagerly ran into the pig's mouth. What should he do? How infuriating. "Uncle, you're right. We shouldn't be too intimate before we're married. It's my fault." "It's your fault to begin with. Don't think that I can't tell that you're taking advantage of Yan. You're the type of person who wants to pretend to be innocent after taking advantage of others. What's wrong? Now you're saying that you shouldn't be too close to Yan? Is it wrong for you to be close to him?" Hua Chenhuan, who had been ridiculed for no reason, sure enough, no matter how wise and powerful the men of the Cheng and Su families were outside, they were not to be offended. However, when it came to the matters of the women in the family, they were like lit firecrackers. They did not recognize their own family, and whoever got close to them would be unlucky. "Uncle, don't talk too much. We really didn't do anything." Cheng Juanhao snorted coldly. "It's because I came too fast that I didn't make it in time." Su Yiyan. "You're right." Not daring to continue on this topic, Su Yiyan hurriedly changed the topic. "Uncle, why did you suddenly come to find me?" "It's nothing. I heard from the receptionist that your friend was here, so I wanted to come and take a look. In the end, I didn't expect to see you as soon as I came in. Luckily I came quickly. Otherwise, in broad daylight, in such a public place, without even locking the door, you dared. There are so many people outside." Cheng Juanhao got angrier as he spoke. Su Yiyan didn't think too much of it at first, but the more she listened, the more she felt that something was wrong. Her face flushed red. No, uncle, you're really thinking too much. We really just wanted to kiss and hug each other. We definitely didn't have such thoughts in broad daylight. Please stop your dangerous thoughts." Chapter 247. Stop. "Uncle, let's not talk about this anymore." Su Yiyan looked at Cheng Juanhao almost pleadingly, like a soft little kitten, pitifully begging to be let go. Cheng Juanhao choked. In the end, he snorted reluctantly and did not continue the topic. Su Yiyan breathed a sigh of relief. She turned to look at Hua Chenhuan and said, "Uncle, there are so many customers in front. Don't you need to keep an eye on them? I can take care of them here." Cheng Juanhao was so angry that he almost laughed. The anger that he had suppressed with great difficulty rose again. He snorted and said, "There are so many people in front. I don't need to keep an eye on them all the time. But why are you in such a hurry to send me away? What do you want?" Su Yiyan looked at her uncle's expression that said, "I've already seen through what you want to do. You'd better behave yourselves." The corner of her mouth twitched. She said helplessly, "Uncle, you're really thinking too much. I'm just worried that there are too many people in front. Today is the first day of the restaurant's opening. Li Jingwen and the others are inexperienced. If something really happens, they won't be as skillful as you. Cheng Juanhao still wanted to say something, but Huo Chenhuan had already grabbed Su Yiyen's hand. She took the initiative to give him a way out and said, "It's okay. There are many people in your restaurant. If something really happens and you can't solve it, they will definitely come to you and Uncle to discuss it. It just so happens that this is the first time I'm meeting Uncle. Let's sit down and have a meal together and chat." Cheng Juanhao's face darkened. He wanted to say that they were not even married yet, but because Huo Chenhuan had just given him a way out, he could not go too far. He could only reluctantly warn them, "Just talk. Don't touch me." The two people who were secretly holding hands, as soon as Cheng Juanhao sat down, the two of them could not be as lovey-dovey as before. Su Yiyen made a phone call and ordered some medicinal cuisine suitable for Huo Chenhuan's physique. As soon as the food arrived, Su Yiyen did not hesitate to pile a lot of food into Huo Chenhuan's bowl. Seeing this, Cheng Juanhao felt sour the whole time. He felt as if he had suddenly become bald, and the top of his head was shining brightly. "I was going to ask someone to deliver it to you later, but I didn't expect you to come first. These are all made by my new employees. Try them and see if they're different from mine." Huo Chenhuan nodded and tasted a few mouthfuls. She said honestly, "It's not as good as yours." This was a familiar statement. She didn't know if she really felt that way or if Huo Chenhuan's filter was playing tricks on her. The corners of Su Yiyen's lips curled up slightly as he defended the good seedlings of his own family. It's already good that they've done so well in just a few days. If I train them a little more, the shop can be handed over to them a little more in the future. I can also be a little more free. Okay. Cheng Juanhao saw that the two of them were talking as if there was no one else around, and he was left out in the cold. His face darkened slightly. Cough, cough, cough. Su Yiyen was slightly startled. This very familiar cough made her quickly realize that she had neglected her uncle. She hurriedly picked up a few dishes for him. Cheng Juanhao's expression became better. While eating the dishes that Su Yiyen had picked up for him, he secretly sized up this future junior. He was good-looking, and it could be seen that he really cared about Yan Yan. Yan Yan also had a good impression of him. His family background could be considered to be well-matched with Yan Yan's. It was a pity that his legs. Chapter 248. Cheng Juanhao, who realized that he had discovered the truth, looked at Huo Chenhuan with jealousy in his eyes. After hesitating for a moment, he couldn't help but ask, "Is your leg still under treatment?" As soon as Cheng Juanhao said that, both of them paused. Su Yiyen looked at Huo Chenhuan nervously, afraid that he would be angry and sad because of her uncle's words. Huo Chenhuan saw her worry and took the initiative to shake her hand under the table. "Not now. The hospital doesn't have any treatment methods for the time being." Cheng Juanhao was slightly stunned. Before he could say anything, Su Yiyen said, "It's only temporary." Huo Chenhuan was stunned. He turned his head and met Su Yiyen's determined and serious eyes. "It's only temporary." Huo Chenhuan's heart skipped a beat. He replied in a low voice, "Okay." Cheng Juanhao, who was ignored and stuffed with dog food after saying a few words. Well, there was no need to ask. It must be like this. Wasn't he just a bastard? How could his Yan Yan be so loyal to him? The more Cheng Juanhao thought about it, the angrier he got. In the end, he turned his anger into appetite and successfully stuffed himself. After that, without needing Su Yiyen to chase him away, Cheng Juanhao didn't want to stay and eat dog food. He touched his full stomach and left the small private room as if he was escaping. However, after lunch, Su Yiyen and Huo Chenhuan still had work to do, so they didn't stay in the restaurant for too long. When Su Yiyen sent Huo Chenhuan out, she suddenly handed a bag to him. "Here, this is for you." "What is it?" Huo Chenhuan took the bag and glanced at it. He found that it was actually a scarf. A crooked and strange-looking white knitted scarf? Huo Chenhuan's doubts and astonishment disappeared in a flash. Suddenly, a bold guess appeared in her mind. "Did you knit this yourself?" Su Yiyen lowered her head in embarrassment. "It's a little ugly. Make do with it for now." When I'm more familiar with it, I'll knit a more beautiful one for you. Hua Chenhuan subconsciously tightened her grip on the bag. No, I like it very much. Can you help me put it on? Su Yiyan met Hua Chenhuan's gaze. She blushed slightly as she took off the scarf around Hua Chenhuan's neck and put on the one she knitted for him. Hua Chenhuan's previous linen scarf complemented her clothes very well. Now that she had suddenly changed into this one, it was like a handsome man suddenly being put in a gunny sack. If it weren't for Hua Chenhuan's own good looks, he would have turned from a rich man to a rich man in a second. Su Yiyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She couldn't bear to look at it directly. Sure enough, it's still too ugly. I'll take it back and knit it again. Hua Chenhuan held Su Yiyan's hand that reached out to grab the scarf. No, it's very warm. It's very good. Su Yiyan blushed. She was embarrassed that the thing she gave out was too ugly, but she also felt sweet that Hua Chenhuan didn't mind that her hand was too clumsy. Hua Chenhuan stared at Su Yiyan's face, but his hand quietly touched her fingers that were rougher than the last time they met. He said in a hoarse voice, "Why did you suddenly think of knitting a scarf for me?" Su Yiyan withdrew her hand guiltily and didn't dare to look at Hua Chenhuan's eyes. Last time when we went shopping together, didn't we meet a couple? At that time, the girl said that she wanted to knit a scarf for her boyfriend. At that time, I was thinking that buying a scarf was not as good as knitting one yourself. Chapter 249. Hua Chenhuan immediately understood what she meant. He reached out to hold her hand again and said solemnly, "I'm very happy that you're so considerate, but next time, don't do something that you're not good at. I don't want to see you get hurt." When Su Yiyan heard his words, she wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. Perhaps it was because her cooking skills had been upgraded too smoothly, but she was really messed up when it came to knitting sweaters. Other people were poking at the wool, but she was poking at her own hand. Even though the needle used to knit the towel had been rounded, she couldn't stand poking at it for a few days. "I know. I'll be careful next time." "Okay," Hua Chenhuan said in a low voice as he sat in the car with the scarf. "See you in 3 days." The smile on Su Yiyan's face immediately deepened. 3 days later was the day of their official wedding. In the next 3 days, they definitely wouldn't be able to see each other again. But it didn't matter. The short separation now was for a longer time in the future. In the end, Su Yiyan couldn't help but lean over and kiss Hua Chenhuan. She smiled and said, "Dear customer, once the store manager sells something, he will not return it. Remember to pick me up early in 3 days." After she finished speaking, she didn't wait for Hua Chenhuan's reaction. She turned around and ran away, just like the scene when they first got engaged. Hua Chenhuan touched the place where he was kissed. The corners of his mouth curved slightly, and he replied in a low voice, "Okay." Early the next morning, Yu Zian and the others were shocked to hear that the young master, who had always been unwilling to leave the old mansion and only held high-level meetings online, had taken the initiative to go to the company to take a look. He wanted to personally listen to the company's high-level executives' in-depth quarterly performance reports. All of a sudden, the executives of the companies under Hua Chenhuan felt insecure. They were afraid that the big boss would criticize them in person because they hadn't done well recently. Would they be able to come back in one piece? As a result, as Hua Chenhuan's most favored and trusted subordinates, Yu Zian and the others were surrounded by many anxious executives as soon as they arrived at the company. "Mr. Yu, what happened? Why did the big boss suddenly come to the company? What kind of high-level meeting is this? Did someone make a big mistake at work recently and got caught by the boss? Little Gu, tell me honestly, did boss suffer some kind of shock? Previously, the meetings were only held at home. Why did they suddenly have to meet face to face?" Although Uncle Hua had been in the company for a long time, he still felt weak in the knees when he stood in front of President Hua. Was he really okay? Can you give me a heads up so that I can be mentally prepared? Gu Xiaoyang and the other two were also troubled by the group of people's questions. They laughed dryly and said, "Don't be too nervous. Young master just wants to gather everyone together to do a year-end report. He doesn't mean anything else. Don't scare yourselves." Everyone frowned slightly, not knowing if they should believe his words. Just then, someone suddenly asked, "Manager Zwa, you look so calm. Do you know something?" Everyone's eyes immediately focused on Zwa Yenbai. As the only person who had been by Hu Chenhuan's side yesterday and witnessed the whole thing, Zwa Yenbai was indeed very calm. Chapter 250. The executives present were dumbfounded. Scarf? What does this have to do with boss's scarf? Zwa Yenbai could not reveal too much at once. He coughed softly and said, "That's all I can tell you." The executives wanted to ask more, but they were interrupted by Gu Xiaoyang. Since Yenbai said so, he must have his reasons. Believe it or not, it's up to you. In short, don't say that young master's scarf is ugly if you don't want to die. If you want to live, praise young master's scarf more. That's all. Since Gu Xiaoyang had already said so much, it was not appropriate for them to continue asking. They just silently pondered what the scarf that he had emphasized so much was. Their doubts were quickly answered. The moment they saw Hu Chenhuan, the executives present finally understood why Zwa Yenbai reminded them not to say that boss's scarf was ugly. It was because this scarf was really a little ugly. Not to mention the size of the stitches, there were no patterns on it. Fortunately, Hu Chenhuan was now wearing it around her neck when she met them. If she took it off, the whole scarf would be slanted up and down. This made the perfectionists and obsessive-compulsive patients, who were used to seeing beautiful scarves knitted with precision instruments, feel very uncomfortable. However, for the sake of their lives, they could not say anything no matter how uncomfortable they felt. They did not even dare to show it on their faces. Hu Chenhuan did not care about their evasive gazes. She went straight to the point and said, "This should be the first time in many years that we are sitting face to face in an office like this." When the executives heard this, their hearts could not help but tremble. Then, they heard Hu Chenhuan say, "You don't have to be nervous. I called you here today to listen to your reports on the development and profits of the company's various departments in the past quarter and the past year." Although she said this, just sitting face to face with Hu Chenhuan was already a psychological battle for most of the executives in the room. How could they not be nervous? Hu Chenhuan's gaze swept over everyone and finally settled on Yu Zian. "You go first. The rest of you can continue." Many people instantly cast sympathetic looks at Yu Zian. They all worked under the same boss, so they had heard about what had happened to the live streaming website that Yu Zian was in charge of. It wasn't easy for them to spend a lot of resources to bring up the number one sister in the food section. This sister also had the intention to develop in the entertainment industry. They thought that she would bring a lot of traffic to the website. Who knew that once a person became popular, they would become arrogant. After becoming arrogant, they would seek death. They had forcefully destroyed most of their reputation and caused the resources of the website to go down the drain. This was a huge mistake for Yu Zian as the person in charge. Today, he was the first to be singled out by the big boss. He was afraid that the bird that stood out would be shot down. He was unlucky. However, what these people didn't know was that the calmest person in the room was none other than Yu Zian. This was because he had long since latched onto the golden thigh of someone who was immune to death. He had nothing to fear. Chapter 251. All the supervisors in the room watched as their boss's right-hand man spent the next 5 or 6 minutes flattering a new female streamer on their company's live streaming platform. They all felt a trace of doubt in their hearts. Did this guy take the wrong medicine? After their doubts, many people couldn't help but feel a little nervous and fearful. Boss Yu, who was in the top position, suddenly went crazy for no reason. Boss Yu would definitely be unhappy if he heard this. Once the city gates caught fire, how could they, the fish in the moat, survive? For a moment, everyone in the room was in a state of panic. Unexpectedly, after Yu Zian finished flattering him, Boss Yu didn't get angry as they had expected. Instead, he agreed and said, "Well, that's good. Keep up the good work." "Everyone?" Yu Zian nodded reservedly and smiled slightly. "It's because Miss is a good person. It's our company's blessing to be able to sign her." Hu Chenhuan looked up and glanced at him. She seemed to be a little dissatisfied with him calling her Miss, but she didn't say anything. She just replied in a low voice, "Yes. Everyone." What the F***ck? Other than the two people involved, Zui Yanbai and Gu Xiaoyang were the only two people who knew the truth. They couldn't help but look at Yu Zian with disdain. Using the young mistress as a shield, this guy was too shameless. Yu Zian sat down leisurely under the shocked and disdainful gazes of the people in the room. He thought happily that it felt good to ride on someone's coattails. No wonder everyone wanted to ride on someone's coattails these days. As soon as Yu Zian sat down, another senior executive next to him stood up spontaneously and reported his work in a well-behaved manner. Everything seemed to be slowly getting on the right track. What Yu Zian had said before, on the contrary, seemed to stand out. The atmosphere in the room gradually calmed down. Only the trembling voices of the senior executives could be heard faintly. Huo Chenhuan sat in the main seat, but she seemed a little absent-minded. From time to time, she touched the soft tail under the scarf. Until one of the department managers said that his department had made a certain loss in the previous quarter, and that the total revenue and expenditure for the whole year were barely balanced, or even a small loss. This was quite normal for other companies. After all, if there were profits in business, there would be losses. As long as the losses were not too big, it would not be too difficult. But in this situation, it made people feel as if a storm was coming. The atmosphere in the office became inexplicably heavy. Almost everyone's eyes were focused on Huo Chenhuan. The department head met Huo Chenhuan's emotionless gaze. Cold sweat trickled down his forehead, and his eyes were filled with despair. This suffocating silence lasted for about 10 seconds. The supervisor swallowed hard and suddenly thought of something. He said tentatively, "President, the scarf you're wearing today is really nice." As soon as he said this, the atmosphere in the office became even more subtle. The supervisor regretted it the moment he finished speaking. Why would he mention a scarf in such an occasion? Wasn't that just asking for trouble? Who else would he criticize if not you? However, to everyone's surprise, the big boss, who everyone thought would not respond, replied, "Yes, I think so too." Everyone in the room suddenly widened their eyes. Some of the people with weaker mental fortitude could not help but gasp. Chapter 252. The supervisor's body stiffened. He couldn't tell if Huo Chenhuan was happy or not. He had no choice but to brace himself and say, "It's beautiful. Look at this material, it's especially expensive and soft. It must be very warm around your neck. Also, the design of this scarf looks very complicated. The person who made this scarf must have put in a lot of effort to be able to patiently make such a big scarf." As soon as he finished speaking, Zui Yanbai and the others couldn't help but want to give this person a thumbs up. It was one thing to praise the scarf, but he had even self-taught himself to praise the person who made the scarf. He had hit the bullseye. What a genius! What Zui Yanbai and the others didn't know was that this person had really hit the nail on the head. Because he couldn't praise the scarf, he had to find another way to praise the person who made the scarf. Obviously, he had made the right bet. After listening to his words, everyone present keenly felt that the big boss's face had suddenly softened. What was the secret of this scarf? How could it make the big boss change his expression? Don't do it again. Go back and write a summary report and a guarantee for next year. If you continue to lose money next year. Huo Chenhuan glanced at him. The company doesn't keep idle people. The supervisor's eyes lit up. He hurriedly said, "Thank you, President. I will definitely write it well." This punishment seemed severe, but it was actually much better than usual. Everyone in the company knew that the company didn't keep idle people. Most of the people who could sit in the top positions of the company were very capable. These people didn't mean that they couldn't make mistakes, but they couldn't make mistakes in principle. Moreover, they had to bring benefits to the company. If they couldn't do it, it could only mean that they weren't capable enough. Although they wouldn't be fired, if it was serious, they would have to voluntarily give up their position and give it to other capable people. This supervisor's matter would have been investigated for a long time under normal circumstances. Now, he was simply asked to write 2 reports and it was over. It was tantamount to a pie falling from the sky. The people present weren't fools. They finally understood the good intentions behind Zui Yanbai's words. As a result, there would always be people who would intentionally or unintentionally praise Hua Qinhuan's scarf during the reporting process. The atmosphere was unexpectedly harmonious for a while. Relying on the scarves to protect their bodies, the group of senior executives finally got through the reporting difficulty without any mishap. Hua Qinhuan glanced at the crowd and asked, "What about the piece of land that Hua Qihan and his son wanted?" After many rounds of negotiations, they have already obtained that piece of land and are preparing for a new round of property development. Very good. Find an opportunity to get someone to leak out the problem with the underground. Send a copy of the previous exploration report to the higher-ups and lead them to investigate. The person in charge of this matter felt a chill in his heart. He lit a candle for the family Hua and his son, who were about to be unlucky. Their big boss was really efficient in dealing with these weird relatives without any hesitation. He believed that it wouldn't be long before the family Hua was in big trouble. However, they couldn't blame their boss for being ruthless. It was just that that family was too inhumane. Karma was just retribution. Find more work for them in the next 2 days. Don't let them run around and disgust people. He had been looking forward to the wedding for so long. He would never allow that family to spoil the fun. Then your wedding with Miss Su, Hua Qinhuan knew what Zui Yanbai wanted to ask. She smiled foolishly and said, "I didn't invite them. Neither did the Su family." Chapter 253. When they came out of the meeting room, the group of glamorous, capable, and domineering elites in the industry looked as if they had just been fished out of the water. Their faces were pale and their backs were wet. "You scared me to death just now. I thought I was going to die here today." "Who said you weren't? When the boss looked at you just now, I was sweating." That look in his eyes was really scary. "But you're smart. You suddenly mentioned the boss's scarf." I was desperate. I suddenly remembered what managers was said before and couldn't help but take a gamble. As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes fell on Zui Yanbai. "Manager Zua, what kind of artifact is the boss's scarf? How could the boss value it so much?" "It's not an artifact. It's just that the person who knitted it is someone the boss cares about." "Love the boss, love the boss." "Someone he cares about? Could it be?" A few of them wanted to ask more, but Zui Yanbai and the others had already left. That afternoon, the manager's phones vibrated at the same time. When they opened it, they realized that it was a rare status update from the boss that they had paid special attention to. When they clicked on it, they saw the familiar picture of the scarf. "Big boss, does this scarf look good?" Everyone, after all, they had complimented it once before. Now that they had experience, their compliments were more sincere than before. In an instant, the post was filled with a bunch of flattery from the higher-ups. A few minutes later, the corners of Hua Qinhuan's lips curled up slightly as he looked at the rainbow farts. Satisfied, he picked the one with the most likes and asked where the scarf had been bought. He replied, "My wife knitted it for me. I couldn't buy it." Everyone. Damn, so it was knitted by the madam herself. No wonder the boss treasured it so much. They really couldn't tell that the boss, who had such a terrifying aura, was actually doting on his wife at home. What a surprise! Su Yiyan, who had no idea that she had attracted the attention of all the higher-ups in Hua Qinhuan's company, suddenly felt her nose itch and couldn't help but sneeze loudly. "Oh, who's talking about me behind my back?" While Hua Qinhuan was secretly showing off her love, the reputation of the first wave of customers in Su Yiyan's restaurant was finally revealed. The real world was different from the internet. Even if there were people from the research institute who spoke up for Su Yiyan, most of the people still held a wait-and-see attitude and did not dare to try it out. When the first batch of diners came out and reported how delicious the food was and what changes happened to their bodies after eating it, many people began to get restless. This restlessness ushered in a small eruption the next day. The first was a middle-aged balding man who posted a comparison of pictures before and after he went to the carnival. Before this, his head was completely bald, and it could be said that not even a blade of grass grew on it. But this morning, there was actually a lot of black stubble on his bald head. Although he might not be able to feel it, at least it was growing. As soon as this person posted it, many people's first reaction was not surprise but doubt. They felt that this was a marketing strategy of the carnival restaurant, deliberately leading people to spend money in their restaurant. Chapter 254. With so much tap water, the restaurant's reputation was quickly improved. Even if some people suspected that they were paid to be a water army, it still couldn't stop the patients who were troubled by their illnesses from being moved by such a large number of positive comments. After a period of psychological struggle, many people finally made up their minds. When they gathered in front of the restaurant from all directions, they suddenly heard two pieces of bad news. One was that the restaurant was limited to 300 orders a day, and this order was now scheduled until next week. The other was, because the store manager is getting married, the restaurant will be closed for 3 days and will continue to open on XX. This announcement is hereby made. Please forgive the guests. A group of guests who came because of the restaurant's reputation looked at the signboard in front of the restaurant. They only felt a gust of cold wind blowing in their faces, bringing up pieces of fallen leaves on the road. It was incomparably desolate. No, the restaurant had only been open for 3 days, and now it was closed for 2 days. How could they be so lazy? Could they be a little more enterprising? The guests who came specially to eat but didn't get to eat. Instead, they were treated with a stomach full of dog food. They strongly condemned this. Su Yiyan didn't care about this. She was now wholeheartedly focused on her own wedding. Although it was a little rushed, whether it was her own family or Huo Chenhuan's side, they all attached great importance to this wedding. Huo Chenhuan also really fulfilled his original promise to Su Yiyan's father. As long as others had something, Su Yiyan would have it, and she had more than anyone else. Early in the morning, Ling Xiaoqi and 2 other little sisters of the Cheng family came to the Su family's house early. They accompanied Su Yiyan to put on makeup and change into bridesmaid clothes. When they changed and came out, Su Yiyan also changed into a wedding dress. The snow-white shape-down wedding dress highlighted Su Yiyan's figure. The thin, slanted lining with the fluffy skirt could be said to satisfy many girls' beautiful dreams of a wedding. The bouquet was mainly white-pink roses, but in the center, there were 3 blue roses that Su Yiyan's favorite, which meant, "I love you." "Yiyan, you're so beautiful in this." Ling Xiaoqi circled Su Yiyan several times, her eyes full of amazement and envy. Su Yiyan's eyes flashed and she smiled faintly. "Are you envious? If you're envious, then find a good man to marry early. You can wear it yourself." Ling Xiaoqi was startled, and her face instantly turned red. "What are you talking about? You're not serious about this big day." "It's because it's a big day." Su Yiyan held Ling Xiaoqi's hand and said seriously, "I'm serious. Don't be disappointed in all men because of your mother. There are so many men in this world. Although there are scumbags, there will always be a few good men. Keep your eyes open and find the second best one." Ling Xiaoqi's life experience was quite complicated. Compared to Wen Jingping, who pretended to be ignorant, Ling Xiaoqi's mother was the real third party. Ling Xiaoqi's mother and biological father met in university. At that time, her mother didn't know that her boyfriend was already engaged, and the 2 families had planned to hold a wedding after both parties graduated. Ling Xiaoqi's mother was already pregnant with Ling Xiaoqi when she found out about this. She was so shocked that she almost had a miscarriage. However, she was also a fierce person. After knowing that she was cheated by a scumbag, she quickly broke off the relationship with the scumbag and took the child in her belly away. Chapter 255. Ling Xiaoqi's mother had never hidden these things from her daughter. Therefore, Ling Xiaoqi hated her biological father to the core. In her previous life, around this time, Ling Xiaoqi's biological father came looking for her, wanting to take her back. The reason was that he had a son with his wife, his fiancée. Originally, he was counting on his son to inherit the family business, but unexpectedly, his son died in an accident a few months ago. Due to his early injuries, he was unable to have another child. Seeing that he was about to die without any descendants, he finally remembered Ling Xiaoqi and her son. He wanted to take Ling Xiaoqi back and help her arrange a marriage so that she could give birth to a grandson to inherit his family business. When Ling Xiaoqi found out about this, she was so disgusted that she couldn't take it. But later, when she found out that her family's capital chain was in trouble, she actually went back to that disgusting home, behind her back, wanting to help her. In the end, she was killed by that crazy woman who had lost her son and was heartbroken by her husband. She didn't even have time to meet a man who was good to her, loved her, and protected her. When Ling Xiaoqi heard Su Yan's words, she was stunned for a moment. Then, she smiled helplessly and said, "If you want me to find the second best man, then what about the best man?" Su Yan snorted coldly and said proudly, "The best man is of course the one in my family. Even if you're my best friend, it's useless. I definitely won't let you have him." "How dare you?" Ling Xiaoqi, who was caught off guard, wanted to hit someone. As the two were talking, Qing Shuqin rushed in from outside and said, "It's almost the auspicious time. Are you ready? It's time to go out." Okay, we're going out now." Considering the security issues and the possibility that some people who didn't like them might come and cause trouble, the location of the wedding was set to be on the island where Hu Chenhuan had proposed to Su Yiyan. One could only enter the island with an invitation. Everything on the island began to be prepared after the proposal. In addition to Su Yiyan's favorite flowers, there were also a large number of wedding gifts, fireworks, and ribbons. The wedding scene was decorated with dreamy colors, beautiful and warm. "Dad, are you nervous?" Su Yiyan held Mr. Su's hand and could feel his anxiety at the moment. She could not help but ask in a low voice. Mr. Su's face was cold as he shook his head. "I'm not nervous." "Then are you unhappy?" His precious daughter, whom he had raised with great difficulty, was about to be married off. How could he be happy? After a moment of silence, Mr. Su chose a more tactful way to put it. "I just miss you." This was an expected answer. Su Yan smiled and hugged his arm. "Dad, don't be sad. Even if I'm married, I'm still your daughter. You didn't lose me. On the contrary, you even have a son. Isn't that great?" Mr. Su was speechless. "I'm well educated. Don't try to fool me." Although he was depressed, Mr. Su still considered the big picture. He knew that his two children loved each other. As a parent, he couldn't break them up and make them sad. He could only cheer himself up and say, "Let's go. I'll walk you there." Melodious music sounded. Su Yiyan walked forward step by step under everyone's gaze, accompanied by her father. She knew that someone was waiting for her at the end of the road. Chapter 256. The moment they clasped their hands, the smiles on the corners of their mouths unconsciously deepened a little. Seeing this scene, Su Yanyan's father felt a little upset. He felt depressed as if his treasure that he had cherished for many years had suddenly been stolen, but he had to let go. "I'll leave Yanyan to you. Treat her well. Otherwise, neither her brother nor I will let this go." Hu Chenhuan held Su Yan's hand tightly and promised solemnly, "I understand. Don't worry." Su Yanyan's father's expression became a little better, and he sensibly stepped aside. The wedding vows at the wedding were more or less the same, but this time, Su Yiyan tried to change the vows according to their own situation. "Miss Su Yiyan, are you willing to marry Mr. Hu Chenhuan as your wife? No matter in the past or present life, in sickness and in health, in prosperity and in adversity, you will love him without reservation, worship him, take care of him, never leave him, and be loyal to him forever?" Hearing this vows, Hu Chenhuan's heart couldn't help but tremble. An inexplicable emotion rose and fell, and it was indescribably complicated. Su Yiyan turned to look at the people who were accompanying her, and said with a smile, "I do." "Mr. Hu Chenhuan, are you willing to marry Miss Su Yiyan as your wife?" No matter in the past or present life, in sickness and in health, in prosperity and in adversity, you will love her without reservation, respect her, love her, never leave her, and be loyal to her forever? Hua Chenhuan was still stunned by this vows, and he didn't speak for a long time. The people below began to talk about it, and the faces of Qing Xiuqin and the others darkened a little. Su Yiyan didn't hear an answer, so she turned her head and called out in confusion, "Chenhuan." Hua Chenhuan suddenly woke up. "I do. I now announce that Mr. Hua Chenhuan and Miss Su Yiyan are officially married from today onwards. Now, the two newlyweds can exchange wedding rings." Zui Yanbai and Ling Xiaoqi held the rings for the two of them. The beautiful and simple rings were more similar to the previous proposal rings. They looked intimate and warm. Moreover, the inside of the rings were engraved with their names in capital letters. The meaning was self-evident. After exchanging the rings, Su Yiyan didn't need the people around him to make a fuss. He couldn't wait to lower his head and kiss Hua Chenhuan's lips. Hua Chenhuan was stunned for a moment before replying with a faint smile. The crowd below was dumbfounded by this scene. When they came back to their senses, they also began to applaud as if they wanted to see the world in chaos. Qing Xiuqin and the others felt a little helpless, but they also knew that their daughter really loved Hua Chenhuan. They looked at the two of them with joy and jealousy. After the kiss, Su Yiyan lowered her head and touched Hua Chenhuan's forehead. She smiled and said, "Mr. Hua, please guide me for the rest of my life." Hua Chenhuan's deep eyes instantly softened into a pool of water, and he replied in a hoarse voice, "Miss Su, please guide me for the rest of my life." After that, the two of them couldn't help laughing. There was a banquet after the wedding. Because of the joke that Hua Qihan's family had made before, Hua Chenhuan and the Su family had done their best to invite almost everyone in the upper class to the wedding banquet. The scale of the banquet was not small. Naturally, there were some people who had a good relationship with Hua Qihan's family. When they saw that Hua Chenhuan and the Su family didn't invite Hua Qihan's family to the wedding, they couldn't help but secretly feel indignant for them. Chapter 257. Isn't that right? Even if the Su family had some bad blood with them before, they can't exclude their own brother from this big day. After all, he was the one who raised the family Hua after Old Master and Old Madam Su passed away. Now that he's all grown up, he's turning his back on them. How disappointing. These gossipers were just short of pointing fingers at Hua Chenhuan and calling him an ungrateful wretch. Speaking of which, this Miss Su is really funny. She just had her engagement broken off by the young master of the family Hua, and now she's engaged to the young uncle of the family Hua. What do you think she's after? She's just trying to get back at him. Don't you know that young master Hua broke off the engagement because he had a girlfriend? He's found his true love, and his family is so much better off than the Su family. Why should he swallow his pride and be with a girl he doesn't like? Someone frowned in displeasure. They were engaged, after all. If young master Hua doesn't like her, he should have broken off the engagement and found someone else. He went behind her back and broke off the engagement in front of so many people. No matter how you look at it. Before this person could finish, a plump, middle-aged woman adorned in jewels cut her off. Her face was full of disdain. That's because she's useless. She can't even keep an eye on her own man. She deserves to be broken off the engagement, she said. As soon as these words left her mouth, a few of the better-educated ladies frowned and instinctively took a few steps back to distance themselves from these people. These people were in a cesspool and wanted to drag others down with them. They weren't that stupid. These people had no idea that they were being ostracized. They continued to mock the couple's marriage in high spirits. If you ask me, this Miss Su is really stupid. She's marrying a cripple just to get back at them. I'm afraid she'll never be able to make a name for herself in this lifetime. Don't say that. Uncle Hua is a member of the family Hua, after all. How can he not have any assets? Who knows how much money he spent on this island? Most people can't earn that much in a lifetime. The Su family isn't a rich family. Isn't it a good idea to wait for her to die of exhaustion, inherit the inheritance, and then find a man to marry? As soon as he said that, The crowd burst into laughter. The island is beautiful, but who knows if Uncle Hua rented it just for show. Furthermore, I've heard that although this family Hua's youngest uncle looks like a decent person, his personality isn't that good. But that's also true. It's inevitable that he would have some mental distortion if he couldn't even stand up. I'm afraid that Miss Su won't have a good life after marrying over. She pretends to be beautiful on the surface, but who knows how badly she'll be abused in private. It's her own fault for being so stupid. Of all the people she could have married, she chose to marry a cripple like him. Her family didn't even try to stop her. What a money grubber. Marrying her daughter to this kind of person for a few cents is no different than selling her off. As soon as the man finished speaking, a cold female voice suddenly came from behind him. I don't know if my child is stupid or not, but I'm sure some people who like to gossip about others behind their backs aren't very smart. The person who had spoken had kept her voice low. She had thought that only the people around her had heard her, so she hadn't expected to be pointed out. She immediately became nervous. Who was eavesdropping on me? Chapter 258. The noise was so loud that the guests nearby were all dumbfounded. A few seconds later, a few people who were talking to the person who fell finally reacted. They went forward to help her up and screamed, "What are you doing?" The person who hit her sneered and crossed her fingers, making a frightening cracking sound. "You're talking bad about my niece behind her back, and you're asking me what I'm doing?" They were frightened by her words and their faces turned pale. When they opened their mouths to speak, Su Yiyan and the others had already noticed the noise and looked over. "Aunt!" Su Yiyan's eyes lit up when she saw them. She picked up her long skirt and ran over to them. Su Yuding couldn't help but complain, slow down. You're already married, but you're still so impatient. What if you fall?" "I know what I'm doing." "Aunt, when did you arrive? Why didn't you tell me in advance that someone would pick you up? I thought you wouldn't be able to make it back." The woman in front of her looked to be in her early 30s and was wearing a short skirt. She was Su Yiyan's aunt, Su Yuding, Mr. Su's sister. Although Su Yuding was adopted by Su Yiyan's grandparents and was not related to Mr. Su by blood, she had a very good relationship with the Su family. It was just that in recent years she had been traveling everywhere. Before Su Yiyan's wedding, Qing Xiuqin and the others had tried to contact her. At that time, she was still bungee jumping in a faraway place and would try to come back as soon as possible. They didn't receive a reply from her this morning, so they thought she was delayed by something else and couldn't make it back. They didn't expect, "I arrived this morning. How could I not be at your wedding? I wanted to give you a surprise, but I didn't expect that there would be some twists and turns on the way, so I couldn't make it to your wedding ceremony." Su Yuding pursed her lips and was a little unhappy when she said this. At this moment, Hua Chenhuan and the others also came over. Gu Xiaoyang went to Hua Chenhuan and said a few words to him. Hua Chenhuan narrowed her eyes dangerously and said apologetically, "It's our fault for not being well prepared. Aunt met someone she shouldn't have met and ruined her mood." "Someone I shouldn't have met?" Su Yiyan looked at Su Yuding in confusion. "Auntie, who did you meet?" Su Yuding snorted, "Who else could it be? It's your big day. Don't you know what kind of blind people like to come and annoy you?" Su Yen frowned and quickly reacted, "Hua Xiaofeng? Auntie, did you meet Hua Xiaofeng? Where is he?" Before Su Yuding could answer, Gu Xiaoyang had already coughed softly and held back his laughter. She was sent to the hospital by Ms. Su. Cheng Xiuqin and the others had just arrived when they heard this. They asked curiously and excitedly, "What's going on? What happened? Why is Hua Xiaofeng in the hospital again?" The word "again" could be said to be very eloquent. Gu Xiaoyang smiled under everyone's probing gazes and said, "It's like this. When Ms. Su arrived, she happened to meet Hua Xiaofeng and his girlfriend who wanted to forcibly land on the island. The security guards at the edge of the island didn't receive their invitation and didn't want to let them on the island. The two sides had a dispute. Chapter 259. After hearing Gu Xiaoyang's words, the group of people looked at Su Yuding with astonishment and even fear. It seemed that they had never thought that such a beautiful and charming woman could be so lethal. Only the Su family was quite calm about this, especially Su Yiyan. Her skills were first learned from Su Yuding. Later, when Su Yuding started to travel around, her family found a few other good coaches to help her with the formal training system. Because of this, the relationship between the two was the best in the family, and their temperaments were quite similar. Su Yiyan was fine. She would at least say a few words before the fight. Su Yuding's temper was much more explosive. She was the type who would not talk much if she could fight. Huo Xiaofeng and Wen Jingping were really lucky. They could have met anyone, but they met Su Yuding and were sent to the hospital. Su Yiyan and the others did not have much sympathy for them. On the contrary, they were somewhat gloating. They did not even send invitations to the family Hua because they did not want to see the ugly faces of this group of idiots on this big day. They rushed to disgust them. Now that they were in the hospital, they could only curse that they deserved it. "Auntie, did you fight with them? Are you okay? What can happen to me? Even if there were 10 of them, they would not be able to defeat me. If it were not for your big day today, it would be inauspicious if something really happened. I would have pressed them into the water for a while." Su Yuding snorted coldly. She was not happy. She did not really want to kill the two people. She just thought that if they were soaked in the water for a while, their brains would be completely stupid. That would save them a lot of trouble. Su Yiyan understood her implication. She laughed and said, Yes. I know that you are the best, Andy. Let alone 1 or 2 soft-footed shrimps like Huo Xiaofeng. Even if there were 10 or 8 of them, you would not care about them. However, it's all thanks to Aunt that my wedding with Chenhuan went so smoothly. This is all thanks to Aunt. Su Yuding subconsciously glanced at Huo Chenhuan, who was not far away. Is this your husband? Su Yiyan blushed and giggled. Yes, Auntie, you can just call him Chenhuan. You look quite decent, but I don't know if you can protect yourself. Su Yuding narrowed her eyes and went straight to the point. Niece-in-law, someone just mocked our family's Yen for marrying a disabled person and even mocked my brother and sister-in-law for selling their daughter. Are you going to do something about it? What? Su Yuting's words made everyone's expression change. After the initial shock, the few of them seemed to have thought of something. Their eyes fell on the woman who was kicked to the ground by Su Yuding. Although she had already stood up with the help of others, her face was unusually miserable. No, it's not like that. I didn't. It was true that the woman liked to gossip, but she was not completely brainless. Bad-mouthing people behind their backs and bad-mouthing people in front of them were two completely different things. She instinctively wanted to defend herself, but was interrupted by Su Yuding. Do you mean that I wronged you? Chapter 260. It was a light sentence, but it made those people feel an inexplicable chill run down their spines. Don't slander us. We didn't say anything. That's right. Just because she's from the Su family, you can't slander her like this. Su Yuding sneered. I haven't even said what you said. Why are you feeling guilty? They choked instantly. While they were arguing, Zui Yanbai had roughly told Huo Chenhuan about the identities and backgrounds of these people. Naturally, he also emphasized their relationship with Huo Qihan's family. Huo Chenhuan's eyes turned cold. Mrs. Zhen, Mrs. Liu, Mrs. Zhu, right? Go back and tell your family that the Hua group will cut off all business cooperation with your family. If you don't want to go bankrupt, find another family as soon as possible so that you don't end up on the streets. When they heard Huo Chenhuan's words, their expressions changed slightly. Mrs. Zhu, who had the best family background, couldn't help but take a step forward and say with some arrogance, What right do you have to cut off family Hua's cooperation with us? You're just a... Before Mrs. Zhu could finish her words, Huo Chenhuan interrupted her. Because I'm the only legitimate heir of family Hua. Yanbai, see them out. I don't want to see these families again. Huo Chenhuan's words clearly meant that she wanted to blacklist these families completely. Zui Yanbai respectfully responded with an excited smile in his eyes. Zui Yanbai had always been nimble. As soon as Hu Chenhuan finished speaking, he rushed forward with a group of people and carried the women out. The women didn't expect Hu Chenhuan to really hit them. They struggled and cursed angrily, but it didn't change the fact that they were thrown out. When they were completely thrown out of the manor and the house was quiet again, Hu Chenhuan raised her eyes and glanced at Gu Xiaoyang. Gu Xiaoyang instantly understood and said with a smile, "There are too many people here, and we didn't notice that a few rats had sneaked in and affected everyone's mood. It's our negligence. Please don't mind it. After the banquet is over, we will prepare a small gift for each of you as an apology for what happened just now." As soon as Gu Xiaoyang's words came out, many people echoed and said that it was okay. The atmosphere seemed to have returned to the lively atmosphere before the accident, but there was an inexplicable depression. But no matter what, after such a ruckus, even if there were still people who ridiculed the marriage of the two, they didn't dare to rashly announce it. The word bankrupt was not a joke. Although some of them, like those women, were skeptical of Hu Chenhuan's words just now. However, it would be very foolish of him to bring trouble to his own family just because of a few words of gossip. The losses outweighed the gains. During the process of Hu Chenhuan throwing the women out, Su Yuding and the Su family were observing from the beginning to the end. When the matter was almost settled, she asked meaningfully, "Is what you said just now true? Can you influence the decision of the Hu family and make them bankrupt?" Hu Chenhuan's expression didn't change. She said indifferently, "Auntie, I never say things that I'm not sure about." Su Yuding raised her eyebrows slightly and continued to ask, "Isn't it making a mountain out of a molehill to make them bankrupt just because of a few words of gossip?" Chapter 261. Su Yuding stared at Hu Chenhuan for a long time before she finally smiled sincerely. "I like your personality. Yanyan has good taste. At least he picked a responsible girl. As his aunt, I can rest assured." Cheng Xiuqin and the others couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when they heard her words. Children have their own lives. Children have their own ideas. As adults, we shouldn't interfere. Whatever we say now is meaningless. We should think about how to live a good life in the future. "That's true." Su Yuding glanced sideways at Su Yiyan. "Did you hear that? Since you're married, you should settle down and live a peaceful life. Don't let your parents worry about you. Got it?" After that, no one mentioned those women who ruined the mood. However, this didn't mean that the matter was over. Not to mention that Hu Chenhuan had said that he would make them pay the price. Mr. Su and the others couldn't tolerate those gossipy women talking about him selling his daughter. Sooner or later, they would get back at them. Perhaps Hu Chenhuan's threat was effective, or perhaps no one dared to stir up trouble at night and risk being thrown to the bottom of the sea to feed the fish. When the banquet was completely over and the guests had all left, nothing else happened to spoil the mood. Mr. Su and the others were the last to leave. They reluctantly left the manor with Ling Xiaoqi and the others as bridesmaids. The two newlyweds finally had a chance to be alone. "I'm exhausted. I've been busy all day. It's even more tiring than when I worked in the shop." Su Yiyan rolled around on the soft bed and suddenly turned to look at Hu Chenhuan. She got up from the bed and sat on Hu Chenhuan's body. Like an octopus, she hugged his neck and rubbed against him. "But it's worth it. From today onwards, we're officially husband and wife." Hu Chenhuan's heart skipped a beat. He hugged Su Yian's waist back and said in a low voice, "Okay. Are you not happy?" Su Yian keenly sensed Hu Chenhuan's mood and looked up at him. Hu Chenhuan touched her face with the back of his hand and smiled. "No, I'm very happy. But why do I feel that you're not in a good mood? Are you not feeling well?" Hu Chenhuan shook his head again. After a moment of silence, he said apologetically, "Tonight is our wedding night, but I can't do anything." Su Yiyan was stunned. Only then did she remember the crux of the problem. She laughed and said, "Who said that we can't do anything? We can do a lot of things." "What? Did you get someone to make the bathtub I asked you to prepare?" "Yes, where?" "In the bathroom cubicle." Hu Chenhuan heard Su Yiyan say that she wanted to use the bathtub to take a bath. He thought that she didn't like to use a bathtub, so he asked someone to separate a small room in the original bathroom with a bead curtain and put the bathtub there. Su Yiyan immediately jumped down from Hua Chenhuan's body and rushed into the bathroom. After finding the bathtub in the small cubicle, her eyes lit up. She quickly began to add hot water and the medicinal herbs that she had prepared earlier. "What are you doing?" Hua Chenhuan saw this scene when he heard the noise and came over. Su Yiyan saw him coming over. She smiled and waved at him. "Come here, I'll help you take off your clothes." "Take off my clothes?" Hua Chenhuan's hand that was holding the wheelchair handle suddenly paused. "You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.